So folks, we finally made it. We finally made it to the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. And after nearly a year of asking for it and waiting, we finally get a 3-minute video that leaves us with more questions than answers, a lot of theories, and Sam Raimi fans finally getting some validation after 2007. Them was some dark times. And I'm here to break it down for you people. Well, at least the ones that stayed after the first few seconds of the video. Also, I'm wearing a Venom shirt because that's the closest thing I have to a Spider-Man shirt in my closet. Note to self, buy more Spider-Man merch. Okay, so in the trailer, we start right after Mysterio pulls a Sky Jackson and releases Peter Parker's identity to the entire world. This immediately leads to Peter scooping up MJ again and swinging off so they can get away from all these clamoring people asking Peter about why he did what he did. Some time passes and we see Peter and MJ hanging out on top of a roof as he tries to acclimate to his new life as an outed superhero. And predictably, Peter and his other associates get questioned by the police. Ned, Aunt May, and honestly, it'd be pretty fun if we saw Flash Thompson get interrogated by the cops too. Like, can you imagine just what kind of situation that puts Flash in now? Turns out the kid he's been bullying throughout all of high school is actually his personal hero. So, with all this new stress and all of his family members and everyone he cares about pretty much being in constant danger because of everyone knowing who he is, he turns to the one thing any teenager would turn to: drugs. Oh, no, magic. He turns to magic. So this spurs Peter into visiting the Sanctum Sanctorum, which is currently Winter Wonderland right now. Don't know what that's about. Maybe Wong or Steven accidentally messed up a spell and now everything's icy. Who knows? And Peter just straight up asks Doctor Strange if he can undo what Mysterio did and make everyone forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Now, before Strange can say anything, Wong comes in and is like, "Oh, no, Strange, that spell is too dangerous. You shouldn't do it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go fight a supervillain no one's seen since 2008. And then he dips. And, Doctor Strange being Doctor Strange just goes ahead and does it anyway. Now, I see a lot of people saying that this is out of character for Strange to do something so reckless, but like, he became the Sorcerer Supreme because he crashed his car while texting and driving like 90 miles an hour down the freeway in the rain. This man isn't known for his smart decisions. They go into the basement and start the spell, and Steven's doing all the wishy-washy hand stuff, and then Peter's like, wait, if everyone forgets I'm Spider-Man, doesn't that mean that my girlfriend, my best friend, my aunt, and the other people that know that I want to know are gonna forget too? And Strange is like, yeah, but just tell them again, or at least that's what he should have said. And then Peter ends up messing up the spell by talking too much. Wow, I knew Spider-Man had a motor mouth on him, but I didn't know it was that degree. So, long story short, the spell gets donked up and a bunch of villains from the other Spider-Man movies show up and start wreaking havoc all across New York City. Well, at least the variants of the villains, but I'll get into that later. So we see in the trailer that basically everyone that Peter's close to has their life turned upside down by Peter's identity being revealed. Aunt May, Ned, MJ, and even Happy, who gets put in a really bad situation, and I think he might die. So we'd see like 2 times in the trailer Peter is wearing a suit, like a regular fancy suit. And at first I thought maybe he's coming home from a court hearing, but then I remembered he might be coming home from a funeral, like Happy's funeral. Now, hopefully I'm wrong. I really don't want to see someone we've known since like the first Iron Man movie to get turned into Swiss cheese because Spider-Man's identity got leaked. But now let's get to the real draw of the trailer: the villain. The only villain we really see in like clear lighting is Dr. Octopus, who's being played again by Alfred Molina, which he confirmed like a really long time ago in an interview that went viral, but it's still cool to see him on screen again. And here we see a bunch of lightning, which pretty much confirms that Electro's in the movie. But why is his lightning yellow? I'll get into that later. Here we see a pumpkin bomb accompanied by the sinister chuckle of Willem Dafoe, which confirms another Raimi villain is in the mix. And in a blink and you'll miss it cameo, we'll see the main villain of the first Amazing Spider-Man movie, Kurt Connors, aka the Lizard. Well, it might just be a monster in Stephen Strange's basement, but I'm like 99% sure it's the Lizard, and so is the rest of the internet actually. And in this absolutely crazy shot, we see a sort of humanoid-looking giant mass of dirt. So I'm like pretty sure that's Sandman. Now, I know what you're saying. Wasn't Sandman a good guy by the end of Spider-Man 3? Well, that's not actually Sandman. Let me explain. The multiverse is a big place, like crazy big. And in all those alternate realities and stuff, there might be different versions of characters who didn't go through certain character arcs or just didn't die when they were supposed to. Like, take Green Goblin, for example. Instead of accidentally committing sewer slide, he kind of just lived and went to prison. I mean, obviously he escaped, but, still. And Dr. Octopus, he realized at the end of Spider-Man 2 the error of his ways and sacrificed himself to save the city, maybe even the world. He wouldn't do all this stuff. Well, he wouldn't, but maybe an evil variant that never had that story arc might. Basically, what I'm trying to say, all the villains that we're going to be seeing in this movie aren't necessarily going to be the main versions we saw in previous movies. They're all essentially going to be variants. It explains why Dr. Octopus is still evil, it explains why Green Goblin is still alive, it explains why Electro is still alive, and it explains why Sandman is trying to kill Peter. Well, I mean, he might be. Maybe he's trying to protect him. I don't know. After everything we've gotten from this trailer, I think I can sort of roughly figure out what the entire movie's gonna be. I could be totally wrong, and I'm likely going to be totally wrong, but if that's the case, I don't really have an issue with it. So the movie obviously opens with Peter having his identity revealed, and then his life gets turned upside down. He's constantly being questioned by the police, he can never get any peace at school, it's just a complete, utter nightmare. Also, it might be a pretty good time to just put a Matt Murdock cameo in there, finally confirming the Netflix shows is canon, which they are. Argue with the wall. Wanting to undo all of this madness, Peter goes to the Sanctum Sanctorum, talks to Doctor Strange, and convinces him to cast a spell that would make everyone forget that he was Spider-Man. The spell gets messed up, and unbeknownst to Peter and Strange, at least at first, a bunch of villains from the multiverse have just been ejected into the main Marvel timeline. Happy ends up dying, and then Peter and his family gets attacked on the highway by Dr. Octopus and the Green Goblin. Now, Peter faces them in his Iron Spider suit, at least I think it's the Iron Spider suit, and might just be a CGI stand-in, but he faces them in the Iron Spider suit, and it ends up just getting totally destroyed by the Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus. I'm imagining that the Dr. Octopus is just going to rip all of the mechanical arms off of his back at once with his mechanical arm. So Peter goes to talk to Doctor Strange, and he turns out he already captured one of the villains, the Lizard, which is why we have this shot here. Now, I'm not 100% sure what's in this box, but whatever it is, it probably has something to do with undoing the spell that Strange messed up. So this box gets destroyed in the ensuing chase scene, and Doctor Strange is like, you know what, screw you, Peter, you're on your own. So that just leaves Peter by himself to deal with all these villains that are running around, which eventually leads to this scene where he fights Electro and Sandman at the same time. Also, let's just say that the Lizard breaks out during that chase scene between Doctor Strange and Peter, because, you know, we have to have the Sinister Six somehow. Speaking of which, all the multiversal villains gather together, and I guess they just run into each other one by one and decide, let's kill Peter Parker. And they also decide the best way to lure him out is the tried and true best method any Spider-Man villain can do, kidnap MJ. And also maybe Ned and Aunt May, but they're definitely kidnapping MJ. So after realizing MJ's been kidnapped, Peter goes to the Sanctum Sanctorum and is like, I can't fight all these villains by myself, I need your help. And Strange is like, no, you betrayed me, I'm trying to figure out how to undo this thing that I did. And Peter's like, no, I get it, do whatever you need to do, undo the spell, I don't care if everyone knows I'm Spider-Man, I just don't want all these villains putting my family in danger. And then Strange is probably like, okay, you're a good kid, here, have some magic, and that's how we end up getting the integrated suit. I know I've only brought up 5 villains so far, and that's because they haven't revealed who the 6th member of the Sinister Six is going to be. It could be an alive Mysterio played by Jake Gyllenhaal again, it could be Mysterio from the Sam Raimi universe played by Bruce Campbell, which would be hilarious. Could be Scorpion, which we saw in Homecoming, could be the Vulture, it could be anybody. It could be even Topher Grace Venom. That would... I don't know how I'd feel about that, honestly. Now, Peter goes in the integrated suit to face the Sinister Six and is starting to win at first because, you know, his suit's magic and they've never faced that before, but Peter starts to get overwhelmed with just the sheer amount of numbers they have on him. Strange probably sees this on the TV or some magic mirror as he's starting to prepare the counterspell and is probably like, okay, Peter's gonna die if I don't do something, but I can't do anything myself because I'm too busy working on the spell. So he gets the idea, okay, well, what's more dangerous than Spider-Man? 2 other Spider-Man. So he calls in Andrew Garfield Spider-Man and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man to help Tom Holland Spider-Man. So as Peter's about to die, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield show up, and they're probably gonna be pretty shocked to see people they saw die or still alive, but they're gonna be too busy fighting them to really ask any questions. And with a combined might of 3 different live-action Spider-Man, the Sinister Six eventually gets defeated. And they save MJ and Ned and Aunt May, and then hooray, everyone's safe. Now, before Strange can finish the counterspell, I'm gonna assume that the 3 Spider-Men have a talk and they just compare notes of all the crazy things they've been through in the past year. Maybe we get a joke about Bully Maguire in Spider-Man 3. And I think this talk with the 2 other Spider-Men is gonna spur our main Spider-Man to be more responsible with his secret identity. So all the villains and the 2 other Spider-Men get sent back to their home dimensions and everything's set back to normal. Just for Peter to ask Doctor Strange again, hey, can we do the spell but the right way this time? Doctor Strange agrees to do the spell again for Peter, honestly, just so he can show everyone that he can do it right. And it works. Everyone forgets Peter is Spider-Man, including all of his friends and family. And that also means MJ would probably forget ever dating Peter to begin with. So we cut a few months ahead into the future in December where everyone's forgotten Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and we probably are going to get that scene where Peter is talking to MJ at that donut shop. We can see in these leaked set photos that Peter is probably reading off notes off of a piece of paper as he's approaching the shop, probably rehearsing his lines as he asks her out. And the movie finally ends with MJ telling him when exactly she gets off of her shift, and Peter smiles to himself knowing that he managed to bag Zendaya twice in one trilogy. Yeah, that's how I think Spider-Man No Way Home is going to go down. Once again, I could be completely wrong about everything that I just said, which I'm perfectly fine with. I trust that they know what they're doing, and they haven't let me down yet. Well, I mean, if you count Thor the Dark World, then yeah, they have let me down. But that was years ago. I don't think they're going to do that again. So what do you think? Did I sound crazy, or am I actually onto something? Make sure to sound off in the comments below, and remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And even if you don't, there's probably an alternate reality version of you that did, so what's the point? No, but seriously, please subscribe.